and welcome to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Prashant, how are you today?
I'm doing great, thank you. How are you?
I'm fantastic. Thank you so much for asking. Nick, how are you?
Fantastic as well. Good to see you.
It's so good to see you. We've not been on a show together for quite some time.
It's been a while.
And I'm so excited to be in the studio.
Yeah.
I love when Ozzy's here too, so I can say all three of our names. Well, mine too, that before, and it's just so much fun. So gentlemen, thank you both so much for having me today, and thanks for being here. I wanted to talk a little bit about such a very important topic and kind of the theme for today's show, because I love your book so much, Prashant. This is an amazing copy of Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth that I'm holding here in my hands. Chapter 2, specifically, the big 5 deadly risk of retiring today, because I know, gentlemen, you've been so incredibly busy. People are calling in from the television show and they're asking you how they can retire with confidence, retire with clarity. These 5 things I think we should spend time talking about today. Would you both agree?
Yeah,
absolutely.
Let's do it.
Okay, perfect. Well, the first one, if you don't mind, I'm just going to flip the page over because this is a big one and we're very passionate about talking about this. Taxes, the elephant in the room. Oh my gosh, Prashant, why is that important to think about with retirement?
Well, if you just think about it logically, you look at tax rates, and what we see is we see the federal debt going up, but in the last 5 or 6 years, what we've seen is we've seen the top tax rate actually come down.
Yeah.
And that's an issue because as the debt piles up higher and higher and higher, I think at some point recently we crossed 30 trillion with a T. $30 trillion of national debt, and at some point in time, somebody is going to have to pay for this. It's not enough for us to say, we'll kick the debt can down the curb forever.
Right.
We have to deal with that. And so we can either deal with that by maybe printing more money, but we've been through that the last couple of years, and that's led us to record high, 40-year high inflation. And so the only other way to deal with that is taxes, right? And where are they going to tax people? Logically, if you've been putting money away in your 401k, your TSP, your 403b, all that money you've saved before taxes, which means when you go to withdraw it, whether it's because you need it in retirement or because you get to the age of the required minimum distribution, which has now been changed to 73 years old, you are going to have to pay taxes on every single penny. So 10 years from now, 20 years from now, do we think taxes are going to be higher or lower in this country? And I think the consensus overwhelmingly is that our taxes are going to be higher. And so if taxes are higher, that means there's less income in your pocket. And if there's less income in your pocket, are you going to be able to enjoy the retirement that you've worked for decades for? And that is a scary thing to go through. So we have to be incredibly proactive about how we go about planning for increases in taxes.
Yeah, let's talk about that a little bit further, Nick, because obviously Prashant brought up a very good point about the 401k, but what about people that also aren't expected to be taxed on their Social Security that they're receiving? How does that actually tie together, if you will? Well,
that's one thing that Prashant talks about all the time, the tax domino, and knowing what every dollar you earn in retirement. Most people think they're going to be in a lower tax bracket in retirement, but the way we plan, we don't want our clients to take a reduction in income in retirement. You worked really hard to get there, but every dollar that you earn can be more taxable income to the federal government, to the state government. When you get to the age where you have to start taking those distributions from your 401k, but the more money you make, the more that you pay on your Social Security. So it's a kind of a complicated calculation as to how you get to what is taxable, how much of your Social Security is taxable, but every extra dollar can impact you.
And it's actually really interesting. You bring up a great point because a lot of people have this misconception that, okay, I've been paying my FICA, I've been paying Social Security tax, I've been paying Medicare tax for all these years while I'm working. So when I receive it, I should get my Social Security tax free because I've already paid into the system, right? Wrong, right? A lot of people don't understand the fact that your Social Security could be tax free. You could be taxed up to 50% of the benefit that you're receiving. You could be taxed on up to 85% of the benefit that you're receiving. And so, you know, I do workshops on this all over Maryland. We did a couple in Columbia. We've been out in Pikesville doing specifically Social Security and tax planning workshops. And by the way, if you ever want to come to one of the workshops, you just call our office and request a spot or request the calendar, and we'll get you into one of our workshops. But we have to be really diligent about understanding how all of our sources of income are going to be taxed, whether it's Social Security, pensions, IRA distributions, those types of things, inheritances. I mean, how many people are getting inheritances this year and over the last couple of years with everything going on? So we have to understand how every source of income is taxed, because they're not all the same.
And that can be a tax time bomb. Thank you for bringing that up, Prashant, because obviously if you're receiving a huge inheritance, couldn't that bump you into a totally different tax bracket if you're not prepared?
Absolutely. I think Nick was just telling me, what was it, a couple weeks ago, you had a client that inherited like $700,000 or $800,000, but like half of it was in IRA assets.
Yeah.
Wow.
So the change in the law back in 2019 with stretch IRA being eliminated, if you inherited an IRA from your mother or your father, whoever really, if you're a non-spouse inheriting a retirement account, you either have to take a lump sum of that amount. So in that case, $350,000, $400,000, a lump sum, all taxable as ordinary income, or take a 10-year payout of that. We would obviously encourage people to take the 10-year payout,
Sure.
but it's not like it used to be prior to 2020. And that's a big consideration, that people without the proper education, and Prashant mentioned our events, our workshops that we do.
Yeah.
We're educators at the end of the day. That's one of the things that we like the most about our job, is we're constantly bringing new information to people, because the average investor out there, they hear things from their neighbor, from their coworker, and we're here to eliminate the static and help them understand better all of these impacts to their retirement.
And you both do that so well, because I do want to mention that obviously what I love so much about this book is not only the information inside, but the way that it's written, the way that you deliver the information is so easy to understand, because so often I know that we've heard people go into different financial advisors' offices and they don't understand what they're even saying.
Yeah.
So what do? You just smile and nod like, yeah,
exactly.
that sounds great, but you have no idea what they're saying. But this is so easy to understand.
I think that's our responsibility too. I had a dinner with a client the other night, and she said, that's what I like about you guys. You, Nick, Ozzy, Prashant, you don't speak to me as if I'm a PhD. You dumb things down, and I hate to use that phrase, but we want to make sure that people understand at a very basic level how all of this impacts their retirement. So we're educators. I love getting compliments like that the messages that we put out are clear and concise and not overwhelming to people.
Absolutely. Well, Prashant, that was the big one, taxes, and I want to jump into the next one, but we're going to actually have to open up the phone lines.
Yeah, absolutely. I know there's 5 of them in here, so I feel like we could probably do multiple shows on this. But look, we're going to talk about the 5 deadly risks that retirees are facing. Couple things here. If you want to get a copy of this book, it's Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth. You just visit retiremaryland.com. You see the website at the bottom of your screen here. You answer a couple questions, and the book is totally complimentary for you. Our team will mail you a complimentary copy of the book. We actually have a special ebook as well that's called Preparing for a Satisfying Retirement. So visit the website, retiremaryland.com. If you can relate to some of the things that we're talking about today, are my taxes going to be increasing in retirement? How is that going to affect me? We're also going to give you the opportunity to call our office and schedule an actual visit with Nick, myself, and our team at Elite Income Advisors. That phone number is 833-308-5200. And when you call in, you'll call into our call center. We have operators standing by. They'll be ready to schedule you for a visit with our team in the next 2 weeks here. It is 100% complimentary to come in and visit with us. When you come in to visit, you leave your checkbook at home. You're not agreeing to become a client. In fact, we're not even agreeing to take you as a client, but what we're doing is helping you get an understanding of where you stand for retirement today. It really starts with making that phone call. It's 833-308-5200, complimentary, no obligation. So come give us a call and give us a visit.
Prashant, thank you so much. Nick, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. The call center is ready for your call, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break. When we come back, we have risk number 2. Can you guess what it is? I'll give you a hint. We're all trying to do it. So let's think about that. We're all trying to do it. That's your hint for the next one. Thank you. We'll be right back.
How confident are you in your current financial plan? Do you know with certainty how the recent market volatility will affect your future hopes and dreams? How much are you paying in taxes? And how much are you losing to unnecessary high fees? You didn't work to save this money so that you could spend your time worried in retirement. Now is the time to take charge of your finances so you can feel confident about your future. Call in during the next 30 minutes of today's show only to set up an absolutely complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review that will result in your own customized written plan. This is a $999 value that we're giving away complimentary to the first 10 people who respond. We'll start with a full-blown analysis of what you already have by running a report to untangle how much you are currently paying in fees, how you're allocated for risk, and what it's costing to work with your current advisor. Next, we'll identify your goals. Where do you see yourself in the next 5 years? Where do you want to go, and who do you hope to go there with? Is your current financial plan set up to get you there without mishap? Let's design a roadmap to create a financial plan you can follow with confidence. Get the piece that so many people are missing from their retirement. Find out how having a written plan can make a difference to your retirement dreams. Call now to schedule your complimentary, no obligation, full-blown financial review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, we kind of teed that one up with we're all trying to do it because it's something that's very important to us. And I'm wondering what the viewing audience was discussing actually as they were sitting together at home. But this next one, obviously, it's a risk, but you wouldn't think about it at first, but longevity, living longer. Nick, why is that a risk to your retirement?
Well, if you don't have a proper plan and you have other risks involved in that, you could run out of money by living too long. Not only run out of money, but maybe you have health issues that you didn't consider. And we are all wanting to live longer. We're all living longer than the previous generations. My father-in-law passed away at 91 a couple years ago. My grandmother passed away the day before her 96th birthday. And I hope to be that old, I guess, by the time I'm all done. But if you don't have a proper plan and you live too long, your balances in your accounts, your income may not be enough to maintain your lifestyle. So that's something that we obviously plan for.
Right. And the number one goal, Prashant, we've talked about this, is to not run out of money.
Yeah.
So are people coming in and they're asking you, Prashant, obviously I'm going to retire at this age and I don't know when I'm going to pass away, but I think because of my family history, I'm going to live this long.
Yeah.
How can you make sure that I don't run out of money? How do you put those guardrails up on that map, if you will?
So one thing we say at Elite Income Advisors, it is all about the income. Okay? It's all about the income all the time. Retirement is all about income. So if you think about it, while you're working, your financial life just comes down to how much income you have coming in and how much expense you have going out, right? That's really at its crux what it comes down to. And when you retire, that really doesn't change, does it? What happens is where that income is coming from, it changes. If it's no longer coming from a paycheck, it's got to come from somewhere else. So we always say it's not about running out of money. It's about running out of income. Right? And so when we plan for this, if you end up living to be 85, 90, 95 years old, we have to have a plan in place that's going to show you how you're going to have enough income coming in all the way through end of life. And so a lot of times folks will come in to visit with us and they'll say, you know what, we saved $1.5 million or $2 million. And that's great. That's a lot of money for retirement to have saved. But the risk that we face is that all of this money oftentimes is invested in the market, right? And I know we're going to spend some time in the next segment talking about market volatility. But the key is if we go through a lost decade of investing, like we saw from 2000 to 2012, and our $2 million becomes $1.5 million, is that going to be enough to provide the income that we need to get through the end of our life? And so we always say it's all about the income. We have to be able to coordinate our Social Security benefits. We have to be able to understand what happens when one spouse passes away if we're married. All of these things are very important factors in understanding whether or not we're going to ultimately have enough money and enough income to last us until the day that we die.
Prashant, thank you. And you just did the perfect tee up to our next one, actually. The loss of a spouse.
Yeah.
Wow. Because let's think about that. Obviously, not only the emotional ramifications of losing someone you love, that's a mountain to climb on its own. But let's talk about the financial obligations as well.
Yeah, so I'll never forget this. When I first started working with Nick, it must have been, 8 or 9 years ago at this point. Nick's been in the business a little bit longer than I have, and we were working together with a client, married couple at the time, right?
Okay.
And so they were into retirement, like well into retirement, mid 70s, early 80s. And I was just kind of learning the ropes on how to help people plan.
Yeah.
And what I saw is that, let's say spouse A had a pension. Okay, pension was about $80,000 a year. Great pension, but it only had a 50% survivor benefit on it.
Oh, wow.
Which means that when spouse A passed away, spouse B only got $40,000.
Yeah.
Okay, and then spouse A also had Social Security. It was $40,000. Spouse B had Social Security, $30,000. So we talk about death of a spouse.
Yeah.
We have to understand what happens when one spouse passes away. So when the first spouse passes away, the pension got cut in half, and we lost the lower of the two Social Securities.
Wow.
And so we went from $150,000 a year income, which is a fantastic income to have in retirement. And that was a guaranteed income, by the way, pension and Social Security.
Yeah.
But overnight, when they passed away, the spouse's income went all the way down to $70,000.
Wow. And you're used to living so much more, I guess I should say, enjoying what you want to enjoy. All of a sudden, you're forced to really, really pull up the bootstraps.
Absolutely. So we went from a $150,000 income down to a $70,000 income overnight. Wow. Is that a lot of income to lose?
It is.
It's a ton. It's like you lose $80,000. A lot of people don't earn $80,000 right now, right?
And then if you're coupling that into the emotional ramification as well, that is just awful.
It's a heck of a lot to deal with. And so it's important to have the income while you're living, but it's also important to plan for what happens when one spouse passes away. Yep. So there's some silver lining in this, is that they did a great job planning. They came in to see us years before that happened, actually even years before I started working with Nick before that. And can you share a little bit about how we position their money to deal with something like that? Because we were very proactive about it. You don't want to wait until the last minute.
Yeah, and in their scenario, as Prashant said, they were lucky enough to have a fantastic pension, Social Security, but they also did a good job of saving into their retirement accounts.
Okay.
So when the first spouse passed away and there was that reduction, the silver lining, as Prashant said, is they had some retirement assets that could be repositioned to almost recreate a pension type of account for them that would be guaranteed for the rest of the surviving spouse's life. And she moved out of the area, but we still talk to her pretty regularly. And Prashant visited her around Christmas a couple of years ago, and it was such a nice thing to get a picture of the two of them visiting. And you know, just it reiterates why we do the planning like we do. As Prashant said, we believe it's all about income. It's not about how much assets you have. That's important. But if you don't have the ability to have a pension, you need to create that type of income, reliable income in retirement.
So you helped her take a portion of her assets, protect those assets, and then use those assets to essentially recreate the pension that she lost.
That's absolutely right, yeah.
When her spouse passed away. I mean, how cool is that?
Yeah.
And a lot of people just don't know that that type of thing even exists, right? And so, you know, whether or not it's the right thing for you, if you're listening out there, that remains to be seen. Everyone's plan is different, so there is no cookie cutter solution. But when I look at retirement planning, I kind of think of a puzzle. Right. And it's like every part of this puzzle needs to fit together, whether it's taxes, recreating income if one spouse passes away, inflation. We're going to talk about the market in the next segment. If you are unsure whether your financial puzzle pieces fit together, this is going to be your exclusive opportunity to come in, visit with Nick, myself, and our team at Elite Income Advisors, and we will help you understand how your puzzle pieces need to fit together. That phone number is 833-308-5200. When you call in, you'll be able to schedule that complimentary appointment with us. When you come in, we're going to get to know you, you're going to get to know us, and we're going to put you through an income planning report, which will show you how much income you're going to have coming in the rest of your lifetime. We'll help you optimize your Social Security, and we'll even talk about how taxes may impact your retirement. So give us a call. That's 833-308-5200. Also, visit retiremaryland.com and get a complimentary copy of my book, Fiscal Health, Retirement Wealth.
Ooh, they don't want to miss that, that's for sure. Prashant, thank you. Nick, thank you. To our viewers at home, the number to call is on your screen. That call center is waiting for your call, 833-308-5200. We're going to take a very short commercial break. We're a little short on time, but I'm going to give you a hint for the next topic that's coming up. Sometimes it feels like being on a roller coaster. So stay tuned. You're going to want to think about that. We'll be back in just a moment.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to Retire Smart Maryland. My name is Cynthia DeFazio. I'm joined today by Prashant Sabapathi and Nick Innerbichler of Elite Income Advisors. Gentlemen, this next segment I love because obviously we're going to be talking about something that sometimes feels a lot like riding a roller coaster, ups and downs, market risk. Prashant, let me guide that right to you. Why is that a risk in retirement?
It's probably the biggest risk that we think of, right? So we've all kind of been through different roller coaster like markets, right? You even think back to the 60s and 70s. We saw 4 bear markets in the 60s, right? And so every generation has been through their shares of ups and downs in the market. It's inevitable when we're participating in the market. But I think what makes it different today is that during the dot-com crisis, early 2000s, if you even look back to 2008, you were probably in the early 2000s, you're probably in your late 30s, early 40s, and you wrote it out because you had time on your side, right?
Yes.
I'm a big believer in the stock market, okay? I really am. But the key to the stock market, in my opinion, is you have to be able to participate over a long period of time, which is why when the market crashed in 2000 or the market crashed in 08, we had plenty of time to get to retirement, so we could kind of just wait it out.
Right.
The key is, though, or the issue, I should say, is today, as we go through these really volatile roller coaster types of markets, time is the one thing that we just don't have quite as much of because we're that much closer to retirement. And so if you have $1 million or $2 million saved, and now that million becomes $500,000 right before you retire, are you going to be able to generate enough income for the rest of your lifetime? And that is the $1 million question, so to speak. So it's so important to evaluate that. Can you share a little bit, Nick, about how we help people understand how much risk they're taking? Because that's where we have to start.
So I've been doing this 18, almost 19 years, I guess, and I see statements that come into my office that give me a little trouble understanding them. And I've been doing this a long time. So most of the time when a client comes in, they don't know what they're looking at.
Yeah.
They don't know what they own inside their portfolio, let alone how much risk is in there. And we use a tool that it's a fantastic tool that allows us to evaluate how much risk is in a portfolio and show them if we had a repeat of a bear market like we saw in 08, or if it was a bull market like we saw in 2013, how much their portfolio can lose. And most of the time, people are shocked at how much risk is in their portfolio that, my other advisor didn't tell me this. Well, that's okay. I mean, that's why we're here. It's to help you create a plan and shave off some of that risk. As you get closer to that retirement, you can't afford a 20, 30, 40, 50% loss. So you need to start taking risk off the table.
Yeah.
And that's a hard thing to do in this 2022 market that we experienced, where both bonds and stocks were down. But that's what we're good at. We're good at managing risk, creating that income plan so you know where your assets are, your income is coming from in retirement.
It's all about, I almost think about it kind of like budgeting, right? I think budgeting is something that most of our viewers can probably relate to some degree. Just as you would never spend more money than you have coming in every month, why would you ever invest outside of your risk budget, right? So think of how much risk you're taking as nothing more than a budget. And you have to understand whether your portfolio is operating inside or outside of that budgeting range. And so we do this stress test. That's what we help people with every single day, is when we do that report that shows you how much you could potentially earn in a really good market, but more importantly, how much you could lose in a really bad market. That's nothing more than a stress test. Like I always ask people, you go to see the doctor every year, don't you?
I do.
Yeah, you do, right? Yeah. I mean, I would hope
Wait,
so.
is it your dad?
No, my dad helps Ozzy.
Okay, just had to ask.
Yeah, but the point is, you go to see your physician every year. You go get an annual checkup. If your health and your money and probably your family are like 2 or 3 of the most important things, you're focused on those things. So if we're going to take care of our health every year, why are we not going and taking care of our money every year? Doesn't it make sense to do a stress test or a checkup?
It does.
To figure out where we're at?
It does. And retirement is not set it and forget it. Like,
Absolutely.
you're very passionate about making sure that people are aware of what's going on in the situation that's at hand. Prashant, we're running out of time, and I can't believe it. I know that you have a special offer you want to present to our viewers before we say goodbye and reopen the call center.
Yeah, absolutely. So, look, I think you're probably sitting at home thinking, oh, wow, I didn't think of this risk or that risk, whether it's longevity, death of a spouse, the stock market, taxes we talked about. Look, you can get more information just by reading this book. It's a really easy to read book. You just visit retiremaryland.com. Actually, in the bottom side of your screen there, you have the QR code. And so just take out your cell phone there. You can scan the QR code where it says scan me. It'll take you to our landing page. You answer a couple of quick questions, and you can get a complimentary copy of this book as well as the ebook. Also, come in for that visit with us. It's totally complimentary. That phone number is 833-308-5200. Our call center operators are standing by, ready to get you on our calendar. So we'll see you in our office sometime soon. You'll meet with Nick, myself, and Ozzy and our fantastic team.
Gentlemen, thank you so much. To our viewers at home, thank you for spending time with us today. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today on Retire Smart Maryland.